My name is Rob Simmons. I was asked to be the inspirational speaker today, but sadly I come from a Scottish background, and we're not inspirational. That whole nonsense in Braveheart with Mel Gibson was pure fiction. We're dour people. We lecture, we admonish, we lecture and admonish again. We don't inspire. We offend. So it's probably not going to be inspirational today. It's going to be offensive, but I'll blame my forebears. I need a theme. I'm a very structured thinker. I needed to have a theme today. And I realized that there's visually impaired, so I'm going to read these slides to you. And what I landed on today was that the theme is you're special. But that's enough about you. I'm going to talk about me. I want to give you my story. I'm 50. I've got retinitis pigmentosa. I'm visually impaired, but legally blind and emotionally stunted. I inherited this disease, this condition, from my mother, who inherited it from her mother. And it started showing up when I was about 7 years old. And I've heard that story sort of a few times today, that it started showing up as limited night vision. And my mother's family is a large one. There are 8 kids. And what they would do is they'd send us out at my grandmother's house with all the cousins to play a game called Kick the Can. And we called it Kick the Can because, oddly, the objective of the game was to kick a can. And the way they would figure out who had the night blindness, because that's what they called it, was the kids who didn't have it could kick the can. And those who had it, like me, could kick the airspace somewhere around the can. So that's how they figured out which of us, of the 20-some-odd cousins, had the night blindness. You think I'm joking? This passed for science in my family. How many of you have retinitis pigmentosa or are parent of somebody with retinitis pigmentosa? So a lot. So you'll get this. I went to camp when I was 11 years old, and my mother, who was very big on clean underwear, sent more flashlights than underwear in my suitcase, and there was a lot of clean underwear in the suitcase. There's such a thing, little parental advice, there's such a thing as too many flashlights when your kid goes to camp. They're useful, but anything over 10 is probably overkill. My mother has retinitis pigmentosa, the night blindness as we called it, and so I come by it honestly. And in my life, in my early life, the most profound effect was the night blindness aspect of it. And going to camp was a challenge that I accommodated in my way. Going through high school, I come from the country. I'm a farm kid, and the popular sport on the weekend was drinking at a gravel pit, and my challenge was that when the police showed up, everyone ran, and I couldn't. But I was never arrested, which leads me to believe that the police knew who I was, knew what I had, and just took pity on me. I went to engineering school. I went to Queen's University Engineering School, and I was, and I know this, I was the lowest of the academic standard kids to get into the program. My best friend in high school had an 80.3 average. I had an 80.2. No, the other way around. I'm good with math too. He had 80.3, I had 80.2. I got in, he did not, and so I was the last academic kid to get into the Queen's Engineering program. And no, I'm not proud of that, but that's just the way it was. I did graduate in 4 years. I was the worst academic person to graduate in 4 years, and I know this because at Queen's you're allowed to fail 3 courses. I failed 5. And that's not a joke either, so thank you for not laughing. You know, I found out something today here, though, and it was bloody interesting. I was in the parenting seminar, and I found out that a lot of kids today with RP get accommodation because reading is fatiguing. I went through the engineering degree and a subsequent master's in business administration. I never read a textbook. I didn't read one textbook during that whole time. Not one. And I made it through 2 degrees, and that's reflected on my transcript. But I didn't know why until half an hour ago. And that's powerful stuff. So when I was done working at Queen's, I went to work in a meatpacking plant. Through my years working, I've picked tobacco, I've planted trees, I've worked in sawmills, I've worked in forestry operations and logging, and I ended up at a meatpacking plant as my first job as an engineer in Toronto at Canada Packers. And I enjoyed that very much, but not enough to stay more than 2 years. And at the end of the 2 years, I fulfilled a dream and went to Europe and biked around Europe. I thought I was going to bike around Europe for 6 weeks, and I ended up on a bike for 6 months by myself with retinitis pigmentosa, biking around Europe. And I went the equivalent. I mapped it out today, and I've never done this, but I went from the equivalent from New York City to Seattle to San Diego to Atlanta. 10,000 kilometers on a bike by myself. That doesn't deserve applause. That deserves some shock that I would even try that. And my parents certainly didn't approve, but it didn't occur to me not to do it. When I got back from Europe, I went and did an MBA, and I was the last guy accepted into the MBA program. That's my theme. How do I know that? Well, because I started my first year. It's a 2-year program at UBC. It's a fantastic program with really high academic standards. And I know that I was the last guy accepted into the academic program at UBC because I was not accepted into the academic program at UBC. But I just showed up and started taking classes. And with the cooperation of the director, a fantastic guy named Brian Graham, my marks weren't good enough to get me into the program, but he let me take the classes. And at the end of the year, he called me into his office and he said, congratulations, you've won the first-year scholarship for outstanding achievement in the first year. And I said, well, Brian, I wasn't in the first year, remember? And he said, yeah, we're just going to ignore that. Here's your check for $5,000 for the second year. I don't make this shit up, Ann. So he let me go into the second year of the MBA program, even though I really hadn't done the first year of the program, but I did get the scholarship for the first year in the program. I still hadn't read a textbook. And I graduated from UBC MBA program in 1992. I accidented into the animation industry. My son may be in the room, and if he is, I hope he's here. Duncan, just close your ears for just a moment. The way I got into the animation industry is when I was at engineering school at Queen's in Kingston. My roommate's best friend was a guy named Blair Peters, who lives here now. And Blair was working in animation at Crawley Films, where they made the Care Bears in Ottawa in 1985. And we had a deal with Blair in our house in Kingston that if Blair came down and brought a flat of beer and a bag of dope, we'd give him a couch to sleep on, and we'd introduce him to college girls. So that is funny. Come on, that's funny. That's how I met Blair, and we became lifelong friends. And after I finished my MBA degree, Blair invited me to join him at his company called Studio B Productions here in town, where we produced something like 400 television episodes together. We sold it in 2007, and I took some time off. I took a year off. I was fortunate financially and had the wherewithal to take a year off, and I went on a self-imposed sabbatical. And part of that was to go back to Europe and do some biking. And what I did with some pals is I started doing what are known as the iconic climbs of cycling. And if you're a foodie, this would be like getting invited to cook at Lutèce. If you're a golfer, this would be like going to Pebble Beach. My Pebble Beach, my Lutèce, was hill climbs, mountains called like Alpe d'Huez, Ventoux, Rocacorba, Sacolabra. These are mountains that are climbed regularly in the Tour de France, the Giro d'Italia, and the Vuelta of Spain. And it's misery. It's awful. It's the world's god-awfulest thing you can do, to get on a bike and just grunt it out with a guy my size, as fat and old as I am, to try and climb these mountains, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I don't know why. I think it goes back to my emotional stuntedness. But it's something I fundamentally enjoy, and as long as I can continue, I'll be biking. I'm very passionate about biking. I'll come back to that in a minute. So cycling's been a big part of my life as well, and I recently was at Atomic Cartoons. In fact, I'm still at Atomic Cartoons, unless I show up on Monday and the security pass doesn't work. And we sold Atomic Cartoons a little while ago in July. So it's the second animation company I've sold, and I'm proud of that accomplishment, and look forward to the next phase of my life. So let's just pause there for a moment and agree that's pretty inspirational, but it's not. No, Anne, you're wrong. So let's revisit my story. My grandmother I talked about, her father was a sharecropper. I didn't know that Canada had sharecroppers until she told me. He died in his 30s, left 6 kids, all under the age of 17 in the Depression. And he was a sharecropper, so I'm assuming the life savings weren't large. One uncle, at 16, my son's age now, started walking to work from north of Belleville in Ontario to Trenton in Ontario every Saturday night, 20 miles, to work on the railroad. And he'd work all week, so he'd leave on Sunday night, and he'd come back on Saturday, he'd walk. Work 6 days and walk 20 miles. Give his mother his pay packet, work on the farm all day Sunday, and walk back for his Monday morning shift. I'm lucky. I'm not remarkable. That's remarkable. 2 of the other brothers in the family fought in World War II in the infantry with retinitis pigmentosa. I'm biking up mountains in the same country that they fought in, blind, at night duty, during a war against an enemy they couldn't see. That's remarkable. I don't know if they offered it as an excuse for not serving. I don't think they did. I think they just served. Blind, in trenches. That's remarkable. My grandmother, 8 kids, raised all of them in a farmhouse with no running water. Until the 70s, they put a bathroom in the farmhouse so they could sell it. And I remember clearly waking up at their house at Christmas time and needing to go to the bathroom, but it was a trip to the barn and the 3-hole communal outhouse. And that was incentive to just go back to sleep because it's cold in Trenton. She had a daughter, my aunt, who's got retinitis pigmentosa, who was working on a farm who was mauled by a bull when she was 24 years old. She was crippled. She was left for dead by the bull. She laid in the barn for 8 hours. She was clinically dead, no blood pressure, when she was found, and she's still in a wheelchair today. That's hard. That's hard. Getting fatigued by reading textbooks, my life is a walk in the park. I'm not remarkable. I'm nothing. She almost died, and I've never heard her complain, not one time. During my life, I gave up driving voluntarily. I got tested for the visual field test. My retinitis pigmentosa is not as pronounced as many in this room, and I'm grateful for that. But I did have to give up my license. I had a visual field test, and the narrowness of vision meant that I had to give up my license, and I dreaded it. I'm an extraordinarily independent person, and I hated giving up that independence. It was awful. Many of you can empathize with that, I'm sure. The day I went to the optometrist's office to receive what I knew was going to be the news to give up my license, I turned the corner to walk down the hall, and there was a woman my age coming towards me in a wheelchair. And I explicitly thought, I'll take that trade. Thanks, pass. That's worse. I'm blessed. When the doctor told me I lost my license, I said, I know, it's okay. Because somebody put that woman in that hallway in a wheelchair, and I'm better off. I'm blessed. I'm not cursed. Climbing those mountains that I talk about on my bicycle, which I curiously enjoy. Last year and a half ago, I climbed a mountain called Roca Corba in Spain with a fabulous friend of mine named Al Carpenter. And he's an incredible athlete, an incredible human being, and 10 days later he was diagnosed with leukemia, and he almost died. And I'm lucky. He's recovered. He went biking with us in Vermont. He got a transplant. And he's healthy as a horse. He kicked my ass in Vermont 2 months ago, and I'm bitter and angry at him for that because there's got to be some way I can beat Al on a bike, and I thought cancer might take care of that, but no such luck. Yes, it's a dark Scottish humor. My life's been a walk in the park. When I was asked to be the inspirational speaker, I've got nothing to inspire with. Because I know I've been surrounded by so many people, relatives, loved ones, friends, people I've never met, some of those great uncles who fought in the war, blind. So my life's been a walk in the park. So let's go back to the theme. You're special. I got to revisit the theme when you look at my life in that sense. You're not that special. That's my grandmother talking. You're not that special. You're not that special. Lots of us are special, so that makes you not special. So get on with it. Just get on with it, whatever it is. And so that's how I've lived my life, because I didn't really feel like I had an alternative. I didn't feel like in that family, with those harsh Scottish people, that I would be allowed to feel special. So I just got on with it. There are things I can't do, and that's fine. But the world of things I can do is infinitely larger than the things I cannot because of my vision. So what I want to do then is take you to where I am today. I'm not special at all. I'm not special, and thematically, and this is where I offend, shit happens. Okay? So grab a shovel. You got some poop, grab a scoop. And that's how I've lived my life to date. And my son is going to nod knowingly when I say this. Duncan, I see him now, is I think he absolutely understands, because he's heard me say it a number of times: when you've got some shit in your life, grab a shovel, sunshine. And that's the way I've lived my life. But that's a problem. And the problem has come up in the last year. I'm happy to grab a shovel, but in the last year, I felt betrayed by my eyes. For the first time in my life, I feel betrayed. Does anyone feel that about their eyes? Betrayed? Is that a word you would use? I do. I feel betrayed because my vision's getting worse, and I'm starting to say no to things. I'm getting afraid of things. I've never been afraid in my life. Now I'm afraid to go into a dark restaurant sometimes. And I'll start saying no to things because I'm afraid. I feel betrayed by my eyes. And it started about a year and a half ago. A year ago, I got an email from some friends who have a Christmas party in the neighborhood. We live in Point Grey. And they have a Christmas party every year, Lynn and Matt Warburton, and they sent out an email to all the people that go to their Christmas party, and they said, this year we're going to raise some money for a charity. It's the Foundation Fighting Blindness. And in particular, we're going to raise funds for a specific disease that the Foundation Fighting Blindness is about. It's called retinitis pigmentosa. And I thought, my God, what a coincidence. And I wrote Lynn back, copied Megan, my ex-wife, who I called the baby mama, and I copied Megan, and I said, well, Lynn, this is remarkable that you're raising money for the Foundation Fighting Blindness. I have retinitis pigmentosa. And Megan quickly responds and says, well, no shit, Sherlock. That's why we're doing it. So, again, intellectually stunted. Last in the class. I eventually catch up. So at that party, we raised a couple of $1,000 for the Foundation Fighting Blindness. And also at that party, fueled by some vino, we all decided we were going to ride in the Cycle for Sight. And a dozen of us or so went into the Cycle for Sight, and Megan, the baby mama, raised the second most amount of money. But watch out, Megan, I'm going to kick your ass next year. So we all rode in the Cycle for Sight. And here's what I learned as my story is about to continue. And remember the betrayal. And I don't use that word lightly. I did feel betrayed. And as I'm going into this new phase of fear and loathing and a feeling of betrayal from my eyes, along comes this sense of community. And that's what I hadn't done before, is engaged in the community and getting exposed to the infectious people at the Foundation Fighting. You know, the Foundation Fighting Blindness is an infectious disease. And what I've really picked up from that is that sense of community. And I felt it in my neighbors at that Christmas party, and I feel it in here today. I feel it when I'm around the Foundation Fighting Blindness people. They're incredible. You really want to tone down the pessimism there a little bit, guys, because a little more enthusiasm would be nice. But here's what I get from the Foundation Fighting Blindness that's entered my life at the perfect time when I felt betrayed and scared, is the sense of community that they provide. And, you know, when you're faced with a pile of shit, there's nothing like more than one shovel, is there? And that's what I have gleaned from the Foundation Fighting Blindness for the last year or so. since I've been around you all. And that sense of community with both my friends who have helped fundraise and also with those who are afflicted has been a tremendous comfort to me and helped me feel not afraid. Still feel betrayed by my eyes, but I don't feel as afraid. The knowledge that the Foundation of Fighting Blindness provides, just in the stupid email notes you send out, they're priceless. They really are. They really, really help. There's a little bit of hope, a little bit of knowledge, and the feeling that I'm not alone. That there's some other people with their hands on shovels taking on this pile of shit that we all face. And that's incalculable about how good that feels. You'll notice that I didn't say anything about a potential cure. I have been exposed to a lot of brilliant people here today, last night at a dinner that was held, including Briar Sexton, who's my ophthalmologist. And I'm content that they're brilliant. I'm content that if we do our bit and raise some money, we got a shot at a cure. But to me, the Foundation Fighting Blindness doesn't lose if there's not a cure for me. That's not a loss. Because we've already won, I've already won, and it's all about me, remember? I've already won from the sense of community that's been established and the knowledge that the Foundation gives me. Cure? Awesome, I'll take it. Go get a cure, guys. I will take it. If you don't, it's not a failure. That's not a failure. So that's what I'm taking away from this. And so now we have to go back to the theme, because I got to tailor the theme one more time. And I know it's the Foundation Fighting Tardiness. I'm pretty close. So remember, it was you're special, and then it became you're not that special. My grandmother says, get on with it. You know, grab a shovel. But you're not that special, so get on with it. And I've done that up till the age of 50. And now it's time to change the theme. Get on with it, but do it with some others. They've got shovels too. And you know what? Do it for some others. Don't do it for yourself. That's felt good too. Raising some money for some other people can benefit. That sense of community, that sense of knowledge, that sense of engagement, and getting on with it, grabbing a shovel and attacking that pile of poop with some others and for some others. So you're not that special. But today's theme is really with others and for others. And then it came full circle. When you do it with others and for others, now you're special.